Thank you all very much for coming to Stone Soup tonight. We have a wonderful feature for you, and it is Stone Soup's 54th anniversary special. And I try to have a amazing guest for the first, and I did my job. I understood the assignment. We needed to get someone really good, and I wanted to have someone who was a friend of ours back when Stone Soup was still meeting in Cambridge. Dr. Melissa Castillo-Garrow was one of the highlights of our very brief time in the Brew on the Grid coffee shop and elsewhere. I'm looking forward to her feature tonight. I'm looking forward to everyone's open mic. Thank you guys for an amazing turnout tonight. And let's get started with who do we want to have first? And did Bill Lewis write himself down as John Wesick? Oh, Dr. John Wesick. Okay. All right, this is being goofy.
Hey,
Someone's being goofy. All right, but anyway, let's not let us get let's not that get in the way of our poetry. I'd like to welcome first Miss Nike Truth, or just Nike Truth. My bad. By all means, take it away.
Okay. This is an older poem. I found it in my phone. Its title is A Fucking Saturday. My flower is stiff with fear. My flower is waning. My flower doesn't want me anymore. I've become too draining. My flower's nectar has run dry. It's going to affect the fields. I think my flower is dying on me, and I'm desperate for the yields. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nike. I would like to bring up next Miss Jan Rowe.
Thank you. This is from the Black Seed Weekly, March 25th, before we took our month-long vacation to England and the Netherlands for our 36th wedding anniversary. So this is called Feeling Incompetent. Sometimes it's better not to know. I thought I was going to Boston's Mass General Hospital to help with the phone bill, not to visit a widower on the first anniversary of his wife's death after 24 years of marriage. I would not have felt competent. I thought I was a stagehand in Richie Berman's latest play and was looking forward to it. I had, quote unquote, taught Thornton Wilder's um, Our Town, where the narrator is a stage manager. I directed a student performance of Wilder's Pullman car Hiawatha, where we went up and down ladders to direct stage lights to individual train cars. One of the students in the train car played a mentally ill person en route to an institution. In real life, her job was to remove the dead chickens before going to school. So, with fond memories of these plays, my role in Richie Berman's last play turned out not to be a stagehand, but I had to be Jesus. Thank you.
The role of a lifetime. Thank you, Jan, and welcome back. I didn't get a chance to say it last week. And up next, the man we call John Wesick, although his real name is Bill Lewis. Let's give him a warm welcome, whatever identity he's assuming.
Whatever. Here I am trying to be amusing and warm and funny, and this is what I get for all of my efforts. You people. Oh, oh. I have been a little bit freaked out by the number of people I have heard talking about The only way to save democracy is to overthrow the government, assassinate the president. It is freaking me the fuck out, if you'll excuse me. But yeah, I totally get it. You don't like the guy, but the majority of the country voted for him. You can't kill him. Oh, so there's my uncomfortable feelings, but a much better poem. Okay. Getting my chakras in line here. Got to do that. Um, I was at Stone Soup Poetry. I was at Out of the Bark Poetry, Out of the Blue Poetry, Bark. Priestley, what's her name? Deborah Priestley's poetry thing on Saturday several years ago. And I was sitting on the couch and something happened. So here is my poem, Les chats entre nous, the cat between us. Pinkies on purring cat entwined by happenstance. Two people find love. Purring by my side lay Lily, a handsome animal whose balls dropped too late for name change. He doesn't seem to care. My forearm resting along his body, my thumb under his we sat together and purred. She sat on the other side and stroked his chest. His sleepy eyes opened to gaze at us and assure us of his approval, then shut again to purr. Our pinkies brushed, then laid beside each other on a heaving body. No meaning, just two people and a cat, relaxed and happy, but oh, how my finger burned with desire. Almost fearful to look at this woman that I have never seen before. I kept my attention to the poets on the stage and reveled in my imagery, connected to a woman I hardly knew. Again, we brushed fingers as Lily stretched and then lay quiet. Our fingers resting together, how audacious, how arousing. The poet's word wash over me as I feign attention and gaze at her out of the corner of my eye. My head is back, eyes closed, listening to the art. I can see the outline of her breasts as they rise and fall, and my loins throb. She is not mine nor destined for me. I will remain calm, polite, respectful. I will not. Oh my God. At Lily's heave, her finger falls on top of my finger and stays. She knows she is touching me. She wants to touch me. I separate my fingers just enough to let her pinky slip between mine, and we rest quietly, our pinkies entwined. 2 days later, we awoke happy, our fingers still entwined.
Thank you, Bill. Up next, I'm going to bring it to Robert Nurse Weswick, also known as Robert Fleming, the visual poet from Delaware.
Thank you, Chad. Good evening. I'm Robert Fleming, a digital artist and visual poet from Lewis, Delaware, United States. And I'm so glad that Nike Truth started off with flowers, because I'm going to share some digital art that I created with tulips. Chad, can you turn the share screen on, please?
You're good.
Thank you. So this is a photograph I took about 2 weeks ago of a field of tulips. This is the original photograph, and I did several digital edits, and I'm only sharing the ones that were my favorite. In this one, I turned the tulips into black and white. And then I added a schmear to the filter, which is like the Impressionist paintings, and made the tulips blue. And then the same schmear, but I made the tulips white. And here the tulips are going psychedelic. And then I added another filter to give motion called liquefy. And then these are the one on the left is the original image. The one on the right, which are the black tulips, is my favorite of this group. This is another grouping of tulips, and here I turn them into black and white. And now they're red and they have motion. Again, that's created by the liquefy filter. And then I've made them all black and white. And here is the same image as the last one, but in color. And again, for this series, the black and white image is my favorite. And I will share one poem which I wrote, which does have the word tulip in it. Plate and petunia tears. No one cares that paper dishes leave marinara stains. Linguine with white clam sauce leaves Italian Chardonnay. Pre-washing dishes deposit drops on my knuckles. Stuck food particles unstick. Even Brillo pad scrubbing leaves hand brown spots. Know-it-all dishwasher detergents claim pre-washing wastes 20 gallons of water. You used to do the dishes and I did the laundry. As the dishwasher washes, winter consumes cream camellias. Spring promises white tulips. Summer buttercups dry into bookmarks. Fall red roses decompose into the compost heap. Still the dishwasher steam rinses our last kiss. Thank you for letting me share some digital art and a poem about flowers and tulips.
Thank you, Robert. And now I'd like to bring us to Rita Rusty Rose.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to,
Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to mute you. I don't know what happened
oh,
there.
that's
You're good now.
fine. Let me see. Okay. Well, I'm going to use screen share as well. And I'm going to read one fun poem, and then one that is in a new series that, I'm still bouncing around. The first one is in a pantoum form, and it's from my book, Flower Poems. It was written during COVID. And this actually happened in the cemetery that I had gone to. Cleome, Brooklyn Gangster Plant. I first met Dom in St. Charles Cemetery. Myriad purple Cleome plants sat on top of his car. He walked over to me with an offering and requested, "Pray for me," said Don Cleome as he handed me a pot. Myriad purple Cleome plants sat on top of his car. Dom Cleome was dapper in his blue knit suit. "Pray for me," said Don Cleome as he handed me a pot. His voice was Brooklyn gangster as he spoke. Don Cleome was dapper in his blue knit suit. He walked over to me with an offering and request. His voice was Brooklyn gangster as he spoke. I first met Dom in St. Charles Cemetery. And the next one that I have is I'm working on what they call a poarty series, poetry, art, and recipes. And I never took this one out for a run, but they're not, I'm told, ekphrastic, and I don't care because I'm not writing them as ekphrastic. And I've been to her house and everything. This is recipe Frida Kahlo. Combine fanciful color palette, caramelize flavors of Mexico, flambe tequila over self-portrait, recite mantra, Frida, Frida, roll, then braid unibrow, drizzle roja dots, Add powdered gold flecks, stir in sorrow and pain. Recite mantra, Frida, Frida. Pour into plastic mold, bake until done. Garnish with gardenias. Decorate edible sugar calavera in frosting right of Morto de Morto. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. And I'd like to transfer over to next open micer, Jen Campbell.
Thanks, Chad. Appreciate it. This poem is entitled Cherry Blossoms. As they bloom in spring and fall like rain, they are worshipped by a nation and grace us with our presence every season. Each year we go enveloped in love. We wait for their meaning and their motion, tangled in branches and curve like waves. It is our capital, sweet smelling once a year, and grafts with memories. Look in the spring air, full of falling petals and questions of tradition. Next year, will they be cut down?
Thank you so much, Jen. I know we have a few people who joined late, but before I get to those, I'm going to keep on going down the list. Let's go to John Wezick.
Yes, my PhD is in physics, University of Maryland, 1983. And when you get these things, you always wonder if you should put doctor on your checks and doctor on your stamp pad. But this poem has nothing to do with it. It's the second half of the Warpland, or if T.S. Eliot had watched Star Trek. 3. Utnapishtim sights land. Ferris Bueller at the von Steuben Day Parade. Anton Ego at Ratatouille's restaurant. Atticus Finch in the courtroom. Oh, Captain, my Captain atop the desk. Indigo Montoya's rapier. Rocky, his fists raised. Ripley's exosuit. Riker's beard. E.T.'s bicycle. George Bailey at the Christmas feast. Who made my brain my positronic brain? Who made my brain my positronic brain? Head waggle beep, head waggle beep. Soong made my brain my positronic brain. Arjuna's chariot, Eddington's camera, Kate Cooley's dream of snakes, Captain Ramius on the Penobscot River. Where was a worthy opponent to defeat among the 100 billion stars whirling about the galaxy's center? Cybernetic hive mind, digital fire ants, electromechanical killer bees, mind control processors, mutant DNA, implacable, inexorable, they're coming. Emerald City. Under dripping fir and cedar, my apartment, cantilevered over the parking lot. Challenger, Chernobyl, my failed marriage. Sweat-soaked ghee drying after Kodagaish and Irimi Nagi. Zafu, Zabuton, stir-fried tofu and broccoli, black bean garlic sauce, brown rice, the grassy aroma of green tea, orange couch, color TV, plastic stand. Musashi on Ganryu Island, Daniel Sons, crane kick the Yellow Emperor at Julo, Tokugawa Ieyasu at Sekigahara, Elliot watching Next Generation, Gilgamesh, his eyes closed. 4. Death by disinterest. Deep Space Nine, to my dismay, forgot the thrill and pace of TNG for the profit and loss of Quark the Ferengi before the wane of analog TV. Enterprise, too, my interest fell and fell as I moved from Texas barbecue to fish tacos, sinking in a whirlpool of indifference. Only watched a few. Oh, you who orbit the UHF dial, consider Voyager adrift in the Delta Quadrant. 5. Crouching Starship, Hidden Mushroom. Michael Burnham mutinied against Gene's rules, but rose again on the third day. Motormouth, warp drive on shrooms, water bears in space, women talking about their feelings. Why, Brian Fuller, why? As sickness inched closer, we performed a herald that last night before America locked its doors to keep the plague out. Latex gloves, coffee filter face masks, 6 a.m. dash to the grocery, canned tomatoes, chicken broth, no eggs. Midnight's lonely stairwell to the laundry, my monotonous balcony, a million poetry readings online. There's a red door in the mind, time bomb in the blood, horse inside the walls of Ilium, a surprise sun, shape-shifting honey bunny grinding cigarettes onto Titan's deck. There's a red door in the mind, time bomb in the blood. There's a beat for emotion before battle. There's a beat before the Borg cube explodes. Spruance at Midway, Schwarzkopf in Kuwait. Live long and prosper.
Lovely job, John. We have Richard Spizak, who has an event coming up on the 17th. He'll tell you about, I'm sure. I think he's already put a link in an image, but if he wants to explain more, he can. And take it away, sir.
Yes, I've been hosting Shakespeare parties for about 30 years. And started off with a comedy show I was writing for, and it was only an hour long, so we couldn't really do Shakespeare. But we started having Shakespeare parties back then. It was in real life. I invited everybody over to bring a covered dish and would pick parts at random from a hat. That part continues. This time we do it in Zoom. And instead of drawing from a hat, I put up a grid of random numbers. You pick a random number, that gives you your part. It's very interesting. And there's only one rule. You can't complain about somebody else's read. Do your best. That's fine. And it's for fun. The play is the thing. Wherein to catch the conscience of a king. I have a poem for you tonight. I actually have a couple, but I'll only do one right now. This one is an odd poem. It is. It was suggested to me that a woman who was an editor of several poetry magazines said, Richard, what you write is fine. It's witty. It's funny. But, the poets that really get over it, they're the sad ones. They're the morose ones. They're the ones that are, tearing out their heart and soul. They've been damaged. You should write that. That'll really help your fame. And I said, I could give a fig about a fame. So I wrote this in response. It's called He Lost His Morose. It gave up the ghost. Well-intentioned, yet honest friends, I guess, hope to coax him from this mess. This constant, wry, sarcastic humor steer him away from his great potential of success, the doomer. Oh, alas, if he could only laud distress, a doleful childhood estranged at birth, instead of all this loathsome clunking mirth. And merrymaking on top of that. How about you try to cry, or perhaps try on an undertaker's hat? Maybe a strange and melancholy shiftless, a black and soft-stepping cat. Poe had his raven, that's for sure, parked there above his chamber door on the bust of Pallas Maudlin, sure. But think honest, maybe one of old Yorick's skulls, perhaps, or a heart thumping neath the wooden floorboard mat. But irony and merry wit, what's the brighter writer's market first nighter to do with this? And your work not only rhymes, but does so many times within a line. Such wit, you should immediately quit. Not the sort of stuff we favor. Well, what if Herculean are your labors, we cannot take you any more serious than your humor. Like, say, Jim Neighbors at the opera labors unrequited. This you must know, despite how clearly it shows even yet you're somehow, even now, delighted. You must muck about and moan and wail the way old Ahab said we'll land the whale. And old Queequeg, with his tattooed face, knew exactly where he threw his bones. The heaps of sorrow gained you space. And if you cannot skeer the editor, he'll never enlarge you and be your debtor. Instead, in the margins, you'll be left better to your betters. Yet, you must give them sleepless nights or tell tall tales of ghosties. Get it right. No more these joyous chuckles of yours. Really, you must try to scare them and freak them out. And then an old door. And they're unprepared unless you sing a song of melancholy. Your tales, no doubt, so you do not worry. Tell tall tales of beatings that you once endured. How many countless nights brigands threatened you with swords. Hearty laughs leave them oddly puzzled. If feared they are, they check to see if their wine you've guzzled. As an optimist, my friend, the signs are weak. Canst thou not study how to scream, bitch, complain, and shriek? Far better wert thou a disgruntled fellow. That's the way thou shalt find thy success is doubled.
Very nicely done. And up next, we have Marianne Honecker.
This one's a little long. It's in 2 parts. It's called Body and Soul. 1. The body is all the animal flesh I have consumed. Their souls shiver up from my skin, a rotten scent. Like's a crisp 75 with no sweat, or only a little behind the knees. Is my hand sweating in every weather so I am not allowed to touch anyone? List a little to the left when I am walking. Is often cold even in the summer. Where is a light sweater? For when the stars dip down to where they can be seen. Is a goat, my lips lift rubbish to my mouth and I eat it. Is a brown leaf ticking away like a clock on its brittle branch. Is often too hot in every weather, sweat curling my hairline. Times its hungers, wakes to a dream's lightning flash end and forgets, sharpens its claws on the walls, bunches itself up like a crumpled receipt, stretches out like a snake measuring its prey. Body, why are you a dumb stone in the world's pocket? 2. The soul is coated in an eggshell, brittle but not yet breaking, scant protection. Is a red stone flaming charcoal that weeps. Is a gong, white as the moon, struck, reverberating. Is a yellow glass flower that blooms, then shatters. Is a jagged, glittering mass of coal, unburnt, inert. I ask my soul, where is the match? Where is the rough surface on which I can strike it? Lies in yellow glass shards it is starting to rain. Is a blue ball. As a child, I would slam it hard against the ground to see how high it would rebound. As an adult, I do not play with it anymore. Is a daisy plucked until it is a yellow nub. The scent of the daisy moldering rises up my throat. Does not any longer reach down to thrum the guitar of my uterus. Surrounds me like a capsule of fog, thus I am invisible. Is waving yellow flags not in surrender but in ambivalence. Is locking double doors to a sunlit room. Has a tiny diamond, warm as a home's light, seen through windows. It is buried very deep. I can't stop shoving my hands into the mud to find it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. We haven't had ES by in a long time, and she has to leave in a few minutes, but I'd love to try and get one poem out of her.
Okay, I've got about 3 minutes. It's good to be here. I'm
Good to
trying
see
to
you
tell
again.
my phone with some very bad headphones. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay. Uh, Chad, as you know, is right away. I wrote this about 4 minutes ago, so bear that in mind. Um, Baggage. Everything fits in a backpack that I carried bruisingly on the same back that carried you, now emptied and scrubbed out, hollowed but still holding something. Ashes, or maybe unused tomorrows, hallowed but somehow growing less sacred. As memory pulls it threadier and thinner, and I still try to hold on to it with both hands. Now, 3 days before Mother's Day, the stranger tells me I'm doing this all incorrectly. Since she's already won her medals, she sneers when she says that I am doing the sports all the wrong way. She, excuse me. She says that I'm gonna back that up. Tells me I'm doing this all incorrectly. Since she's already won her Olympic medals, she says clearly I don't know how sports work. She is comparing my golf to her tennis and says that all of my swings face the wrong direction. No one will cheer, she says, if there's a crowd at all. You can't even see the ball. What are you doing? I just nod at her, smile the smile I'm supposed to have, pinch these belts a little tighter into my collarbone, and walk on, maybe towards you. Sorry about the error there, but yeah.
thank you so much. We'll hopefully see you next time.
Yeah, I'm on a trip, so the time zone's a little different, so I'll see what I can do.
Sounds good. And up next, we have a little musical interlude with Mr. Ethan Mackler. Welcome back, sir. Thank you, and welcome back, Ethan. Missed you. And up next, I'd like to welcome up our closer for this open mic before we get to the feature. Let's welcome up Mr. James Van Loy. Check out his column, It's All One Thing, featuring tomorrow at
Yeah.
11 o'clock at oddballmagazine.com. Also
So
submit
I
to
got
Oddball
one
Magazine.
here. I got one here called The Big Burp That Could Be the Last Gasp. I'm not supposed to exist. I'm just ranting, they say. Especially when I try to say it could have been another way, as if my stubborn perseverance unravels reality its very self, just like all the falling apart cells that would not now exist if it weren't for the many cells that struggled in spite of it all, defining existence from persistence. There we were all along the way, contemplating what still can't be quite said from our being into the froth of inadequate word in a world of making never complete. And I have sat so long in the pot belly of rolling consciousness that the word and the round world are one roiling interdiction of all they think they know. I'm still just waiting to blow up the last elusive inner sanctum veil of where we now find ourselves. And here's a song. Oh, 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 yes, he's the great projector, projecting when he can't do well. His need is such, he projects so much. He's alone, so no one can tell. Oh, 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 yes, he's the great projector, adrift in a world of his own, makes the game so he'll know no shame. You left him to project all alone, to realize this feeling of make believe, to real what he feels, what his heart congeals. Oh, yes, he's a great projector, laughing and fade like a lord. He seems to be what he's not. You see, he's spitting his heart like a sword, projecting, but we're not around. You.
Thank you much. I should let you know that we have Doug Holder planning to feature next week. He just hasn't sent me the information. For those who don't know, Doug Holder was someone who had the reins of Stone Soup for a very long time, was an organizer for a long time before moving on to his other ventures, such as Ibsen Street Press. He said this is the first time anyone's asked him for a feature for a long time, which does not seem right. But I've been wanting to get him back in, so I'm very much looking forward to that. And hopefully he'll give me the information for his bio and photo tomorrow, and we can start spreading around. And hopefully we'll have more surprises being announced over the weekend. It is now time for the feature. We have boilerplate, of course we do. Dr. Melissa Castillo-Garsow is an Associate Professor of English at Lehman College in the CUNY Graduate Center PhD program in English specializing in Latinx literature and culture. She is the author of 7 books, including editor of Manteca, an anthology of Afro-Latin poets, and author of A Mexican State of Mind, New York City and the New Borderlands of Culture, which examines the creative worlds and cultural productions of Mexican migrants in New York City. Her second book of poetry, Chingona Rules, was a gold medal winner of the Juan Felipe Herrera Best Poetry Book Award, International Latino Book Awards of 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, if you were around, if you happened to be around during her features at Stone Soup during Brew on the Grid, you know you're in for a great time. Her contributions to poetry, even in a relatively short time, were amazing, and I've always appreciated that. So I can't think of a better friend of Stone Soup to open up the 54th anniversary celebration. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together 60 times, virtually, audibly, however you like, for Dr. Melissa Castillo-Garsow.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Chad, for the introduction. So I moved to Boston for my postdoctoral fellowship at Harvard, and I, always do the scholarly thing and then also the poetry thing. And so most of my life living in New York, I was looking for a new space to engage with poetry. And Stone Soup was actually the first place that I found. It wasn't too far from where I was living. I just walked over one night. And I was like a very baby poet then because that was now like I don't know, 8 years ago. So everyone was so friendly and so kind, and so it's nice to continue to be able to stop in every once in a while via Zoom. So it's my pleasure to be here. Um, and so in terms of my poetry, I feel like I'm in an in-between place, which I feel like some of you might be able to understand if you've done some publishing or worked on one project and then, started to and completed that and then worked on another project. So I published this book, this was my second poetry book actually, in 2021. And which seems like a long time ago, like you read back and you're like, oh, that's not kind of where my frame of mind is. Like I don't dislike the work, but you know, you continue to develop and grow. That's what's beautiful about literature, right? Continuing, you can write about whatever you want. You don't have to write about the same things of 10 years ago, right? So, um, and now I'm working on a third book, but I haven't really had that much time in recent years as I've had more responsibilities as a professor. So still trying to figure that out. So I'll read a little bit from this book and then I'll read some kind of not really perfected things, some scribbles that hopefully you'll see kind of a new direction I'm going in or new thoughts I'm having really. I don't know if the poetic so much has changed as perhaps the thinking. So this first book though, I think is a nice introduction to myself since you may not all know me. It's about identity. It's about mental health, breakups when you're younger and healing, not just like personally, but also like as a community. I think I also think about, community healing. So I'll read from I'm going to start off with the first part, which is kind of gives you a little introduction on myself because it's one poem. There are two short poems, but one poem's about my dad and one's poem's about my mom. So it gives you a sense of where I come from. Um, and this book was broken up into like 10 sections. So each section had a little like epigraph poem. I don't know how to explain it. So I'll read that too. It's like the mood. It sets the mood for the section, if that makes sense. So this is part one of the book Chingona Rules. Part one. In the Zócalo, Zócalo is like the downtown of Mexico City. In the Zócalo, I dreamed of another life, one unencumbered by borders, one without these zebra stripes. In the Zócalo, I dreamed of another life, the one where you stayed. I wonder if I exist without borders. To be chingona means And chingona is like a Mexican slang term for I don't know how to say it in a less like in a not slang. It kind of means like badass. So this means like rules for being a, I guess, Mexican. Okay. So here's the two poems. I remember when I used to ask my papa why, as a little girl, I thought so much of death. Beautiful deaths, deadly deaths, deaths with meaning and without them. I dreamed of death, dreamed of la familia muerta, felt cared by dead ones. Papá, ¿por qué soy tan mórbida? Soy, not estoy. Porque a skull tattoos my arm. Xochitl grows up my cuerpo. When it strangles my neck, I remember when le pregunté a mi papá, I asked my father, why, daddy, am I so morbid? Mija, you're not morbid. Mija, you're Mexican. I thought you might appreciate that, Rita, because you had that Frida poem. And here's the second one called Mother Tongue. My mother tongue is a memory I long to remember. Before my teeth ground in sleepless discomfort, before my teeth found holes in the incisors, once sharpened by my ancestors, my mother tongue flicked ñes y r's like my abuela flipped tortillas. Before I knew my pretérito was imperfecto, my grammar avergonzada, my mother tongue was a refuge from a world that did not understand a half-breed, a hyphen in Inglés. Now my mother tongue is a reminder of all the teeth pried from me, broken and replaced, shiny and new, but nevertheless fake. Still, even in English, my mother tongue is a memory that folds itself into my back pocket, curves around hips, and tells me to strut. Because my mother tongue is also my secret weapon, hidden and dulled from misuse, waiting to be sharpened. So Spanish was my first language, but now I'm English dominant. But you can see I still put some Spanish in there. Um, okay, so okay, I'm gonna move to a little bit later in the book. Um, thank you so much. Um, let's see. I want to read. So I want to read two poems about women that were important in my life. Um, I don't know if any of you have heard of the writer Gloria Anzaldúa. She's a Mexican American writer from the border. I'm not from the border, but I still kind of like, like feel a connection. It was the first like Mexican American writer that I ever read in college. So there's this very famous poem in like Mexican American literary history called I Am Joaquin. And it's like about kind of like the history of Mexican Americans in the US, but it doesn't really include women. So I kind of did one instead, like I am Gloria for her, like tracing my lineage to her. So kind of a different take on it. So it's called I Am Gloria. I am Gloria, split in a world of borders, spit out by a gringo society, confused by my Mexicanidad, told I don't fit in this land or this land. My father, a pillar of struggle, my mother, a stoic survivor, and I caught in this fence of cultural survival. How do I sustain a culture they say is not mine? How do I sustain a culture they say is criminal? Split, cut, piece back together. Split, caught. I heal again. The wound is scabbing, breaking again with every racist tweet. I cry for a culture I can never fully know. I cry for a culture under attack. In the Zócalo, I dreamed of another life, one unencumbered by borders. I cry into the Rio Grande, flowing in my veins. Cut as they might, it flows, rich and red, reminding me always that I am here, I am her. That's that one. And then, thank you so much. The other one I wanted to read is called Toolkit, and it's one I wrote for my mother and my grandmother. Well, now it seems, where is it? Thought it was in the same section. Oh, here it is. Okay. Got it. There is a table of contents, which is helpful when you like mark up all of them. So, okay, this is called Toolkit. Toolkit. I am from a long line of what they call hysterical women, wild women, stubborn women, difficult woman. My abuela belted years of sorrow, strung notes of violence tight into a life's travels like a newly made rosary. My mother spent years of silence, only to slice by necessity, refusing to budge like a wild horse never to be tamed. Today, he says my abuela can't be trusted. From one hospital to another, home to home, broken in bones, but never in spirit. Today, my mother laughs to his face, cuts deep into the recesses of historical forgetfulness, reminds that forgetfulness is an action, widens the holes. I slither through them. I am from a long line of emotional women, women unafraid of emotion, women who use emotion to survive. They call them hysterical, wild, stubborn, difficult. I call them poetas. Reaching deep within the contours of their tongues, they taught me more than language. They taught me to scribble and scream, be silent, then sassy. These historical women are my toolkit. I face the walls of complicity, coercion, constraint. The poet has a sledgehammer. And that's my I was talking here about my paternal uh grandmother who has now passed, but she was a singer and she's like the person I look the most. So I feel like a connection to her because we looked alike a lot. So especially if I wear she has my hair up. We have like the same cheekbones. So I always like to think of her. Okay, I'm going to read just some poems from the end of this book because it kind of goes through, and then I'll read some of my more recent scribbles, which are some of them aren't even typed, but hopefully I can read my handwriting. Okay, so this is from like the penultimate, I think that's the word, penultimate section. And I'm going to read two poems. One's the little like snippet in front, or like epigraph poem, and then two poems. And these, I guess, were written because they sound like they were written now, but they were actually written after the first time this president was the president. Okay. Part 9. I am the Spanish word you never learned, the one that might have given meaning to your life sentence. To be chingona means. Inaugural poem. I was asking for something specific and perfect for my city, but we are so far from perfect. We are a city whose rivers bleed with 400 years of lies, lies about the people buried beneath our feet. This is not sacred ground. It is unholy and buried from our history books to our Twitter feeds. Buried. It is the darkness beneath our feet. I think I used to be more on Twitter at this time. And then here is 4th of July. 4th of July. Tanks in the nation's capital, concentration camps at its border, unimaginable made unmistakable. History repeated in loops of brown bodies. When safe and sanitary is code for child cruelty, I wonder, where did we go wrong, only to realize we've never been right? For what is 4th of July to the children never meant to be children, only bodies caged, detention or prison to fill our capitalist need? A funeral of dreams, a death of imagination, our roots reaching to strangle freedom. We are a history of children without futures. I think this is the beginning actually of the book I'm writing, the scholarly book I'm writing now, because I'm actually writing a book about literature by immigrants who migrated as children. So how does migrating as a child influence their experience and what they write about? So yeah. Okay. Well, actually, let me read one more because this is actually relevant. This one is called Yo nací aquí, which means I was born here. With like all the discussion about birthright citizenship, like I think it's an important poem to read. So this is called Yo nací aquí. Yo nací aquí, in this country of American dreams y fantasías imposibles, of half-truths and half-men, of poets of possibilities and murderers in chief. Here in this America of brown feelings and white fear, of beats and blunders, in this cold time of terrible silences and worse suspicions. It's here, with the ancestral cadence of buried lives across an immense geography of snowcaps, redlands, beaches, and canyons, blinded by beauty, blinded by pain. This is my country. This is really their country. Mi país es mestizo, multilingüe, pero no orgullosamente so. The land cracks under the weight of racial hatred, flooded with the pressure of our ignorance. Here, time has made heroes of villains because we are not created equal, but some of us strive to be. This is my country, the America of my truths. It is the light of my shadows and the shadows beneath the lights. It will always be my country. I have nowhere else to go home to. This is my country presented how I feel, know, and love, because I was born here. Yo nací aquí. So that's okay, cool. So, let me see. I have I have a few things. So I'm gonna read a positive poem to like shake it up a little bit. Um, so this is a poem. I lived in Brooklyn for a long time. I actually live in the Bronx now, but this is a poem about when I lived in Brooklyn. I lived all over New York City. I'm like, I don't know, I just keep moving. But you know, there's great things about different parts. You learn anyway. But I think this poem is not so much about like it's not about the borough itself. It's about like people and community. And I think that's like what's really important in these times. So um it's called My Brooklyn. And I moved to Brooklyn like when I was 32. So it was not like my place of my youth. Like I had more lived like in Queens or like Upper Manhattan. So it was new to me, right? And so I had some ideas about Brooklyn, but then, anyway, I'll let it speak for itself. My Brooklyn. I used to think everyone in Brooklyn was hipsters, the type of people who thought my home of East Harlem was the Bronx, and the Bronx a place only to see the Yankees. That Brooklyn saw the newest taco place as a fad rather than a lifeline, my culture as entertainment rather than survival, block parties of salsa and parilladas as reasons to file noise complaints, and coffee shops with goat milk as progress rather than the sign I would no longer be able to afford this illegal basement apartment. I got out of that Brooklyn fast, didn't last even a year, and didn't look back from the travels through Queens, where a single day of the 7 could take me through Mexico, Colombia, China, Greece, Bangladesh, and Nepal. I wasn't interested in Brooklyn, that Brooklyn. But my Brooklyn is not on the L line, not trying to one up Manhattan on rental prices and waterfront condos. My Brooklyn is the smell of goat curry and Jamaican patties wafting down Flatbush Ave. My Brooklyn is crashing Mexican graduation parties in Prospect Park with full buffets and a 12-piece cumbia band. My Brooklyn is doggy runs through Prospect Park where Luna pulls me onto the trails and I plead for less stairs. My Brooklyn is an apartment building that carries groceries for disabled neighbors when the elevators are down and stands up to the landlord to get it fixed faster. My Brooklyn is women of color led group runs, women of color owned yoga studios, black owned bookstores I can't get into because they'll eat my whole paycheck. I can't go into because they'll eat my whole paycheck. My Brooklyn is the liquor store owner behind Bullet Glass that always lights up when he sees me, hands me the wine before I take out my card to pay. My Brooklyn is our first family picnic in Prospect Park. My Brooklyn is our first paddle boats attempt. My Brooklyn is our first beach trip, our first basketball game, our first Halloween and Howl-O-Ween, our first date, our first run, our first kiss, our first Christmas, Our first I love you. My Brooklyn is us. That was when I'm married to that person. So that was a little bit of a love poem too, which is always happy, right? Okay, let's see. Um, all right, let me read this poem. Um, I'm actually not sure if it's a poem yet, but I think there's some interesting thoughts in here. So maybe you'll find them interesting. It still needs to be like stanzified, but that's how I write. I like write a lot of free verse and then, work into it. But I'm interested. I've actually been taking some more writing workshops and they've been helping me generate some new material. So I think I'll read this one and then I'll maybe one more. Does that sound okay? This very rough one and then one more? Okay, thank you. Okay. So, tentative title, something like I Am Not Your Enemy. I like to watch what are called dystopian narratives. You know the kind, Charlton Heston kneeling on the sand, yelling, damn you all, when he sees the Statue of Liberty in the Planet of the Apes and realizes the apes control the US now because humanity finally destroyed itself. Or Silo, where she defies the fascist leaders who keep everyone controlled inside through the terror of an unknown but uninhabitable world, only to leave and find out the fascists weren't lying. It is all rubble and noxious gas making the earth is air deadly. I watch them like a documentary, a way to steed myself for what's to come. There is a war in this country, whether you want to admit it or not. There is a world war slow burning, whether you smell the poisonous fumes or not. My enemies know this. MAGA, imperialists, oligarchs, xenophobes, Zionists, misogynists, white supremacists. They are armed to the teeth and have been winning battle after battle for decades. But these are not the enemies that keep me up at night. They are irredeemable and they have no reason to change. Our suffering is key to their hoarding of extreme wealth, and I won't waste my time trying to get into the psyche of billionaire oligarchs responsible for the suffering of millions and the destruction of the planet for a pile of money that could fit into 100 mansions, nor that could not fit in 100 mansions, nor be spent in 100 lifetimes. My enemies are found closer to home. The Afro-Latina Bronx legislator that becomes a mouthpiece for Zionism while lining his enriched pockets with the blood of Gaza's children. The liberals who scream about Trump's deportation plan but did nothing while Biden deported 4 million, a million more than in Trump's last presidency. The allies with middling careers that get rich all of a sudden off speaking out about issues, but don't use their platforms to elevate those who have always been in and of the fight. Women who choose white supremacy and xenophobia over control of their own bodies. White people who tell BIPOC communities how to fix their problems or save their brown children by taking them away. These are the enemies that keep me up at night. These are the reasons we lose. My enemies are people who say lesser of two evils, but don't speak up about the previous evils. I could spend my days calling out MAGA, but they wouldn't care. I'm an affirmative action Yale PhD hire, and I have learned not to waste my time with those that do not see me as human. The others are perhaps people I could have become had I chosen money and comfort over humanity and morality. Case studies in how little power or money it takes I don't think that's a completed sentence. My enemies are bought and sold for amounts oligarchs make in a minute. Small battles raging out all the time to keep us distracted, to keep us bloodied and exhausted. To them I ask, who told you I was your enemy and why did you believe them? I think maybe there's something there. uh, so I don't know. Oh, there's more to it, but I think my question. Who told you I was your enemy and why did you believe them? Right? Like how can we be better about reaching across and being more in solidarity, with anyway. I think that's what I've been thinking about recently in our current fight. you know? And that's what I've been working on. Anyway, so I want to leave you though, hopefully with something a little like uplifting, which is it's a poem actually after Ada Limon, who was the poet laureate. She was the first Mexican. No, she's not the first because she was the first Latina because there was actually um, the prize that I won was named after the first Latino poet laureate, but she's the first woman. Um, and she wrote a poem about like a national anthem. So I kind of also wrote a version, my version of my. Um, so it's called Un Nuevo or a New National Anthem after Ada Limon. My national anthem would be sung in Spanglish and Spanish and Navajo and Cherokee and Cantonese and Tagalog and Vietnamese and Mandarin and Hindi and Creole and French and German and sign language because no English only Karen is going to tell me that the US has an official language. Well, I guess it does now by executive order, but it never did historically. Um, or that English is more American than the native tongues that aren't destroying the earth or the Spanish that colonized before them. My national anthem would be a living language, like the Constitution was supposed to be, adding new lines like words in the dictionary, expanding the language of human rights as wide as the sky. It would be supple like a prima ballerina's flowing arabesque, strong enough to hold the line, but flexible enough to change direction with its peoples. My national anthem would not hide behind the Statue of Liberty's hypocrisy, but shout asylum is a human right and not decide refugees on the basis of class and color. My national anthem would be taught at schools not as something to memorize, but as something to analyze, critique, and interrogate. Each year, students would compete to add or change lyrics, write their own versions of their American dream. My national anthem would celebrate all the lands of the United States, from the Golden Gate Bridge to the Grand Canyon, from farmland to farmland, from stoops to desert oasis, fresh water to salt water. It would remind us to protect stolen lands, not waste what was taken. My national anthem would tell the full story of America from genocide to slavery to xenophobia to homophobia to sexism. My national anthem would not be a celebration. It would be a reminder of our history, a reminder that we must change, a reminder of how far we have come, a reminder of how far we have to go. My national anthem would immediately be labeled CRT and banned. My national anthem would know that the American dream is just that, a dream, and dreams are not reality. Still, my national anthem would dream a land where all people, citizens or not, had the space and time to let their minds wander, imagine different lives, and perhaps even walk that path. Thank you so much.
Keep your hands together 50, 60 times for Dr. Melissa Castillo-Garrow. So what's the next book you're working on? Is it a
Yeah.
is it it's academic?
Well, I'm working on two books. I'm actually going on sabbatical in about 2 weeks. I'm so excited.
Good for you.
Finally, after 7 years, I've earned it. So I'm writing two books. One is it's like scholarly, but it's not. I'm trying to write it more in like not in a scholarly like more, and it's about these authors who migrated as children. And it's Latino
Oh,
authors, but also other authors like Filipino, Arab American. It's just like a little. And then I'm thinking about this poetry book. Does anyone know Murakami Mai's book, What I Talk About When I Talk About Running? So he's like a novelist, but he's a big runner. And I'm a poet, but I'm a big runner.
you
So
are a
it's
runner.
like a lot. So so I have this idea for like um, something like what I think about, something about what I think about when I'm running or something like that, but play off his title. And so these are all the things I think about, right? But also kind of using running metaphors because there's a lot of great running metaphors like around gait and endurance and I don't know. So I'm working on those two things. In a year, I'll probably be able to update you on the progress after I've had time to write without teaching. So yeah.
Keep us posted and don't be a stranger.
Yes.
This is fantastic, and I hope we see you again sooner rather than later.
Bring her back in a year to report on her progress.
Fantastic.
I think that's what we have to
Let's
do
do it.
here.
For the 55th. I'm going to save
Fantastic.
this link. Thank you so much, Rusty.
Thank
Fantastic.
you. Thank you so much.
And so important that the Latino children and all children hear your words and everything to empower them. And when you talked about Gloria A, Gloria, she had so many important theories, the queer theories and things like that. And wonderful body of work.
Thank you so much, Melissa. And thanks to everyone who came out tonight. Next week is going to be feature Doug Holder. Hopefully, he gives us a photo and a bio. And hopefully, you guys all come back next week. It's going to be a lot of features we have not had here for a long time, if ever, at least during my tenure as Stone Soup host. The next person after Doug, I'm hoping, is another person who hosted and organized Stone Soup as well. And it's been way too long since we've had him back. For now, I'm going to get the wave in before I start coughing again. Sorry for that hacking. And thank you guys very much. Thanks to Melissa. Thanks to the doctor. We will have our feature next week, and I hope you guys come back for it and submit to Oddball Magazine. We're looking for timely stuff, and we're starting to pick up with that work. Some with returning contributors, some with new. So we're looking forward to it. Thank you so much, and have yourself an excellent evening. It can be like this every week. All we need is you. Take care of yourself and take care of someone else.
Yes, bravo. Wonderful body work.